See, that's a better situation right there.
Your
I'm
offset
glad that
clap
we
was
figured
so
it out.
hard.
I'm glad that
What
we
was
figured it
happening?
out 73 episodes in. All right. This one's Salient Points number 73 for June 21st, 2022. I'm the master of ceremonies here, Carlos Macias. Thank you guys for joining us. We got no comments. My bad, too. I believe Matthew was going to comment, right, Luis? And he's like, this motherfucker has not opened the comments. And I'm like, I didn't know. I didn't know that's what happened. So my bad, Matthew.
Comment gate.
But we are waiting for those comments. So Matthew, Jet, I want to see the smoke next week because he was throwing a little smoke at Jet last time. I was like, damn, Jet couldn't even back me up, huh? So no, he couldn't. I couldn't. But anyways, Carlos Macias, Dalan Kirkwood from up in the mountains.
Who am I?
We sometimes don't know, man. But look, if I get it wrong, I'll correct it. Dalan Kirkwood from up in the mountains. Thank you for joining me, sir.
There's a bird in my wall.
A real word? Real bird?
There are birds nesting in my wall. I am trying to work. This is also my workstation, and I'm hearing birds chirping my wall all day long. They were just chirping like 10 minutes ago. You weren't there for it, but damn it.
I feel like that should be something that you need to get handled as Mr. Homeowner yourself over there up in the mountains.
I'm hoping that the birds will fly the coop at some point, to say the least.
You're dealing with some stuff, dude. Anytime you hope for something to just like magically go away, it will not. It will not. I'm sorry to break it down to you, unless you got like a landlord or something like Mr. Luis Mendez on the Wheels of Steel over here. You don't got if you got a bird noise, Luis. I'm assuming you just call that shit in, right? You're just like, there's some birds.
I just tell someone and they come in and fix it, take care of it.
There you go.
They're gonna come open the wall.
But no, Dalan, you gotta deal with that crap yourself. Anyways, we'll head right into the headline this week. We did get some big news. I know mainly for me and Dalan, I believe, because we're super hyped, dude. I mean, we're talking about the 2020 We Got Comms Game of the Year sequel here, right? But Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2, whatever other titles you want to throw in there. I think they officially are calling it Final Fantasy VII Reunion, right? It's not even Final Fantasy VII Remake. It's just Final Fantasy VII Reunion. They announced it. It looks kind of incredible. It's coming next winter. I know that one of the quotes that they threw on there, like in the trailer, was like, quote, the unknown journey will continue, which is some things that were kind of, there was little quotes I have on here that, they, Jason Schreier, and there's a couple people online that were kind of going back and forth about what that means. I do like how Jason Schreier said, personally, I cannot wait to play Nomura Fucks with Everyone Part 2. And then, Steve, he goes on to explain, because Steven Totilo said, wait, what do you mean by that? He said, the end of Final Fantasy VII Remake revealed that it wasn't actually a remake, but a sequel. This is a continuation of that, and it's hinting that Aerith won't die. And then there was another guy, Alan Ortega, Kenji Salk on Twitter. He said, it's functioning similar to the rebuild of Evangelion movies, where it is implied to be a continuation multiverse scenario, but the characters seem to be Bergioned with the legacy of the original game's continuity. I kind of want to throw it at you, Dalan, because I know I do like this. I do feel, I don't know if I've said it on wax, but I know we've talked about it before, but I do feel like it's interesting how they're going about like Final Fantasy VII, even at the end of it with the DLC that we got for Final Fantasy VII Remake, where it's like, oh, they're kind of hinting at crap was like, oh, this is an alternative universe. But what do you think? Do you buy any of this? Like, oh, it's a sequel to the original, or is it more like, no, we're remaking it, but we're tinkering with the timeline kind of thing?
I think there's been enough time in between since the game originally came out. If people still haven't played it yet, you're messing up. The game is excellent. But when it comes to...
Have you played it? I don't think he has.
There's that comment.
Said, have you tried Final Fantasy VII Remake, Luis, is the question.
Oh, I'm turning my volume down as soon as he starts talking.
Okay. So he's gonna we'll wave at you when we're ready to bring you back in or something.
Nah, he's like, spoiler alerts, turn me down.
But anyway, Dalan, so what do you think, man? It's definitely like they're fucking with the timeline, which I like. I know you want them to be closer to the original, but no, I like them.
No. I don't care with the fact that they actually tinker with the timeline, because the way that they're doing it is that they're skewing from the timeline and then they're forcing it back. So they're kind of like bridging off into alternate things that could happen through the story, but it's still gonna roll out the same way.
Okay.
Of course, what was his name? Nakamura. I can't even remember his name. Nomura. He's really
okay.
Nomura. He's really putting his Kingdom Hearts spin on it.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, that's kind of the sense I get, right? Which kind of, it's a fine line, right? Because Kingdom Hearts is kind of a little wacky. It's fine that it's own, it's good that it's in its own universe, right? But other than that, it's kind of like, it is wacky, and it can stay wacky over there. But it seems like it does integrate some of those, like the Heartless or whatever they're called, all that kind of stuff. It's like, do I want this?
Hey, you gotta understand, Cloud is in Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, well, and in Smash Brothers, and in everything they could put that guy in. But other than that, I do like that, man. I do like that, and it actually makes it a little more, you don't know what to expect. It makes it a little surprising, right? Because it's kind of like, are they gonna mess with the timeline or not? You're kind of in flux the whole game, right? While you're enjoying this beautiful game, this beautiful gameplay aspects of it.
I will say this: most people nowadays that are playing the game probably haven't played the original. Yeah. Like yourself, Carlos, you had to rush through the original game just to get past that one section, just to understand what was happening.
This thing is coming out to winter 2023, so I still got about a year, about a year and a half for me to finally get through that second section of Final Fantasy VII, the OG version. But dude, it looks amazing, right, Dylan? I mean, it's looking incredible, dude. They didn't really even show that much.
Incredible.
They didn't even really show that much, man. But from what it looked like, it looked kind of nice. And they already did say, Tetsuya Nomura said that they already started on Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3. My assumption is it drops like 2026 if they're following the same sort of, we got it in 2020, then 2023, and then maybe 2026, maybe 2025 possibly. What are you thinking, Dylan? When does it drop? When does Part 3 drop?
Hey man, they're spending a little extra time to make sure they get it right, but for the most part, they have a lot of their core mechanics down. So unless they completely switch up the mechanics, they could do this in two and a half years.
Yeah, right. 2015, 2025, or 2026 at the latest, I would think we'll get the.
Well, cap it off, saying that they're not really, even though they might be working on the next one, they're not close enough to really have it come out by 2026, so it might actually be 2027 or 2028.
We'll see, man. I
think they've got too many projects in the works.
Nah, it's in the pipeline, and it looks incredible. It looks nice. Yeah. So now we have Remake, Rebirth, and who knows what the next one, man. I know Jason Schreier was talking about Remix is the third one, but maybe that's when they'll close the loop. You were saying like it's gonna be like an inflection point, right? Or it's coming back. They're widening the net and then coming back to the center point or the focus or whatever. Maybe that's where it is. The remix.
So the last one's gonna be something more like Recall or Rememory
or Refined. Or something.
No, based on the story itself, it would be something like Recall or Rememory or something like that. They're gonna go the make up a word direction. That's what they're gonna
do. There we go. Well, we're looking forward to it. We're super hyped. And this was actually part of some other announcements that Square Enix did. They were talking about so they also announced Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core Reunion. That's coming out this winter, and it's gonna be using the same engine as Final Fantasy VII Remake. It will feature fully refreshed 3D models and updated soundtrack. You can already tell, right? And I don't know if in the presentation they kind of showed it first before what is it, Rebirth? I hope they did, because this thing, it's like, it looks nice, but it doesn't look like at the level of like Final Fantasy Remake, right? But
I'm already mad at it. I'm already mad
now?
At it.
Is it because of the graphics or what is it for?
Part of it is because of the graphics, and the other part is because I beat Crisis Core, and it was on PSP, so it was very limited on the things that would allow you to do when it comes to attacks. Yeah. So after you get about halfway through the game, it becomes Final Fantasy the side quest. And I'm not trying to deal with that, because if you're not side questing, you're gonna die.
You won't pay, and it still has sort of like that little rolling clock system or whatever it did, right? Like whatever the rolling numbers on the top left corner. It still has from the original.
Oh my God, what are those called?
Like critical thing or lottery or something. It still has
the thing that you pull the lever in when you're
slot
gambling.
machine.
Slots. It's got the slots.
But I mean, look, if it has the same engine as Final Fantasy VII, count me in, dude. I mean, I'm just
No. You gotta understand. It's not gonna have the same mechanics as Final Fantasy VII. It's just gonna be rebuilt in the same engine. So the movements are gonna be more fluid. They're gonna be able to upgrade the models of the characters.
What did I say different?
Well, you said that it's okay. The way you said it, the way you said it, it made it sound like they're gonna have the gameplay play just like Final Fantasy VII Remake. That is not.
Oh well, yeah, no, that remains to be seen, right? But I'm definitely, I'll give it a shot, man. Like I said, if it turns out to be like this thing plays like PSP, it's in the
plays
engine,
like
right?
PSP,
then
but with
then
a
no.
controller, I think I'm good.
Well, what about you? What will it take for you to kind of play through this again? Because it definitely doesn't even look like they're gonna have beautiful cutscenes, or at least that many of them, because they would have shown them, right? They would have shown these amazing cutscenes.
Hey,
right?
Most of those cutscenes were built pretty well. They're just gonna re-enhance them. But really, what would make me want to replay the game is them actually creating better mechanics that are geared more like Final Fantasy VII Remake, and to take out the need for all those side quests. It was a lot of side questing.
Yeah, no, I remember it. I did play through it, and the thing is, when you're playing it portably, like on PSP, it's easy enough to sure, I'll do these little, menial quests and tasks or whatever. So it remains to be seen, but I'm definitely it's piqued my interest. It's piqued my interest at the very least. The next thing that they announced then was Dragon's Dogma 2, and that's gonna be it's in production now. It's gonna be using the Capcom's RE engine, the Resident Evil engine, which is it's a decent enough engine, right? Those games look pretty. They look kind of pretty, right? I don't really know too much about it. I have heard of the original, Dalan, but maybe you can. What's got you hyped? I guess about the announcement. Did you play the original?
I did play the original, and quite honestly, it was an excellent game, especially for the time that it came out. It was one of the few games where you're in an RPG, you could climb on the enemies, and it's very technical to be able to do so. They put in ogres with their big old one eyeballs that you actually climb up their backs, and it takes forever to climb on its head and stab it in the eye. They had griffins that you had to take down from the sky. You had your own little team. It was a one-player game.
It was kind of like Monster Hunter before Monster Hunter. Right?
No,
before Monster Hunter kind of blew up to kind of what it is.
No, it's more like Elden Ring before Elden Ring.
Okay.
But not as hard.
Did they have the vertical, like a horse going up in the sky? No?
No, instead of the vertical horse, you can climb enemies. Okay. In Elden Ring, you can't climb enemies like that.
Did you see anything that, from this, or you're just kind of, you're pretty hyped just about the new one, just in a general sense?
I'm hyped for the game. I'm not hyped for the announcement that they did.
It wasn't.
They're announcing. Oh damn! I'm dying over here.
It's the birds, man. You got to get them out your walls.
No, their announcement. Right? I'll be okay. Their announcement took 12 minutes for them to talk about Dragon's Dogma. They started talking about Street Fighter, Devil May Cry, and all kinds of other games. I was like, okay, that's great that you have all these technical achievements, but show me Dragon's Dogma 2. At the very end, it took them 3 seconds to show off their shirts and then drop the whole thing. They were like, Dragon's Dogma 2 is coming out, and then we're gone. That was the whole thing.
There was no trailer. Yeah, at least they showed a shirt. Metroid only showed a logo. That's the same logo we've been looking at for what, 4 years, 5 years?
Hey, what I don't want is for them to say, "Hey, buy our Dragon Dogma 2 shirt," and then Dragon's Dogma 2 gets canceled for whatever reason.
Dude,
and we're gonna have that shirt and say what could have been. We need a Metroid Prime 4 shirt.
Metroid Prime 4 is vaporware, dude.
Never coming out. It's never coming out.
I'm sad because I want it.
Hey, it's Dragon's Dogma, Metroid, or Prince of Persia coming out first.
Definitely Dragon's Dogma, I feel, because Capcom's been on a roll. So I think Dragon's Dogma 2 is the most likely to come out. It's tough, dude. Prince of Persia and Metroid. Because
it's definitely going to be Dragon's Dogma 2 if we're talking about these. Well,
no. That's
games.
The most likely because Capcom's been on a roll. But I don't know. Metroid, that's a tough one as far as Metroid because these guys, man, I hate them. But I do want a new Metroid Prime. Dalan, the other thing that they did throw out there was Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis is getting a close beta test in 2022. That's got you kind of hyped. You gonna join up on that beta?
Ever Crisis is the only game I've been waiting for outside of Final Fantasy Remake 2. Part 2, excuse me. But Ever Crisis, as soon as they drop it, I don't care how bad the game is built, I'm buying that one. Right. I want to play that game.
All right, I'm hyped for you, man. At least you'll get a shot at kind of trying it out.
Hey, before it comes out. Carlos, I will say this: if Final Fantasy Remake Part 2 comes out after Ever Crisis, buy Ever Crisis and play through Ever Crisis, because it's going back through the story of the original Final Fantasies with better models, with better character models.
No, before everything, it's Part 2 of Final Fantasy VII.
Well, I'm saying,
I understand.
Ever Crisis may come out beforehand.
Canonically, and in the timeline of the lore,
chronologically
and canonically, or whatever you want to call it. But no, it's Part 2. Rebirth is the number one priority. So we'll move on to some quick takes here. This one's a little near and dear to my heart because I love me some Tony Hawk's. I've mentioned it before. It was actually in my top 5 games of the year for We Got Comms. The latest remaster, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2. And Tony Hawk's talking on a stream with Twitch partner Andy THPS. He said that Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 were in the works, but it was scrapped after Vicarious Visions merged with Activision Blizzard. So if you guys hadn't heard about that, I think it was like Vicarious Visions was kind of folded into Activision Blizzard, and I guess I was hoping for a Tony Hawk 3 and 4, but I do have to be honest though, I mean the best ones were 1 and 2. 3 was good. 4 was kind of like maybe the pinnacle, and I think you started to get off the board at some point, so they started to jump the shark a little bit. They started jumping the shark. I think it was 4. I think it was 4 where they started like, well, you could get off the board. So they jump in the shark a little bit. But other than that, I mean, at least we got 1 and 2. But yeah, it would have been nice. I would have been there for 3 and 4 as well, especially because I'm sure we would have gotten the 120 frames per second mode, like, you know, right in the box, right? But Luis, we haven't heard from you since the very beginning of the show, sir. What are your thoughts on this, man? The fact that the Hawkman's over here like, you ain't getting 3 or 4.
Yeah, I mean, I guess from Blizzard's standpoint, it makes sense. They bought them off so they could work on Blizzard titles since they were already kind of doing that, helping them with them. So I think it would be nice to think that, well, maybe they'll go back to it at some point, but I don't think so. I think is Vicarious Visions, who's no longer Vicarious Visions anymore, is just working on Diablo Mobile or something right now.
Diablo Immortal right now, pissing people off. But Dalan, what are your thoughts, man? What do you think about this?
Unfortunately, I think it's pretty common that when companies merge, projects get scrapped pretty quickly. And I do think it would have been very lucrative for them to actually remake 3 and 4. I mean, there are still people out there that do, even though 1 and 2, yes, may have been the best, people still loved 3 and 4, and then people were still waiting for a part 5. So I'm sure that people would buy these games if they dropped.
Dalan,
I'm looking at you, Carlos. You know you'd buy it.
Dalan. No, I'll buy it. But you know, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 exists, right?
I'm just
They went all the way to 8 at least.
Went to Project
They went to 8?
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, look, it got wacky. They did Thug. They did Thug. You know, they did Tony Hawk's Underground, and then 1 and 2, and then all these other ones, and then they did Project 8. But what I'm saying is, there's one actually called Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5, like just straight out that actually came out. But it wasn't great. It wasn't great. So
hey man, I didn't even know there was actually like mainstream ones past 4. Yeah. I knew about Underground and stuff like that, but Pro Skater 5.
Yeah, I think 4. You know, now that I think about it, I think 3 and 4 were mainly like when they became like online. 3 added like the revert, I guess, when you were coming off the ramp where you could continue your manual. And then 4, I think maybe, you know, put all that together and made it a nice little online component to it. I think Underground is when they were like, you can jump on top of this roof now. It's like, yeah, that's what I wanted to do this whole time. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of what happens. They consolidate the teams, and not necessarily to keep being independent, but more like maybe a support group, right? Like a support development house. We're like, go help with this mobile thing we're dealing with over here. We did see a cool little thing before we kind of started going on wax here. A YouTuber I didn't get his name. I should have found his name. But a YouTuber, he made a 2 centimeter thick PlayStation 5 Slim. He calls it the world's first PS5 Slim console. It has a custom copper cooling system. It looks kind of cool. It looks nice and flat. It doesn't look artistic at all. It looks like it kind of fits in your entertainment system. But go ahead and check that out online. But Dalan, what do you think of this thing, man? Looking at this kind of interesting machine.
When I heard about this, I didn't know he had actually made a custom copper cooling system, and I'm definitely glad he didn't try and do a liquid cooling system because that would have been a disaster. But the fact that he actually went and made his own cooling system to be able to make sure that the PlayStation didn't overheat in such a condensed space is actually a bit of a technical marvel. And you think to yourself, well, why didn't Sony do that? I got a freaking 200-pound PlayStation 5 up in my living room right now.
Yeah, it's a couple years out. Well, when did the PS5 come out?
I'll tell you what, they were happy that they dropped 5 ounces off of it, or 12 ounces
recently in their production line. Yeah.
Oh man.
But I mean, it does kind of look like he just flattened it a little bit, right? He took the PS5. He's like, all right, let me flatten this down, because I'm sure he kind of spread out the components flat wise, right?
Yeah. Would this one be a disk drive option one? I don't know.
I don't see the disc. Yeah, I don't see a disc.
Yeah. It just seems like they just took a digital version of the PS5 and just took out all the components and just re-implemented it with the processor that was in there.
I mean, it does look longer horizontally, right? But it just looks like he flattened it. He took his hand and flattened it, but it looks kind of nice.
We don't have anything to compare it to in that picture.
Well, I think if you see a picture online, you see kind of like that. It's definitely like longer horizontally. But Luis, what do you think, man? You gonna mod up your PS5 to flatten it out?
No, I mean, I honestly don't think it looks that good. It doesn't look like anything. Right, it could fit with any console. It doesn't stand out, look like a spaceship or something. But I personally wouldn't. If they were selling this model, I would not buy it for my entertainment center.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the
steampunk model. This is the steampunk model.
I think that's part of it, right? That whenever there's a slim version, it's got to be aesthetically pleasing at least, right? Even though, the original one, it kind of, people shit on it a little bit, but, it's got its own, like Luis just said, it's a spaceship aesthetic to it. And this one is like, it can hide in your entertainment center somewhere, just nice and flat.
This is my granddad's record holder. That's what it is.
There you go. The next thing we have on here is, speaking of Diablo Mobile, a Diablo Immortal player spent $15,000 on a 5-star gem, and then he destroyed it in protest, which he means, he kind of, I think he created a new character or something. Like, he uninstalled it, installed it again, created a character, and kind of like it, destroyed is in quotes. It's in high quotes there. But he spent the $15,000 working towards the gem. Basically, he kind of was spending money that was needed to get to this. And he at some point destroyed it or deleted the game. He did say, quote, "Get off my computer. You don't even deserve to stay on it. Diablo 2 Resurrected, you can stay. Diablo 3, you're on thin ice, but okay, I'll allow it. Diablo Immortal, get the fuck out of here." And this was Quinn69, New Zealand. He's a New Zealand streamer. Yeah. So Luis, what do you think about this here, man?
I mean, as long as he feels good about his decision, I don't know if he understands what protest means, but yeah, that's a very interesting way to protest a game that you don't like. I don't know what he was trying to prove there, but
yeah,
Blizzard wins in this one, I think.
Yeah, I mean, It still got $15,000 from the guy, right? And I think he even said, he was like, "I'm gonna go whale somewhere else," which, the term we've used before is like whales. This guy is a whale. I mean, the game came out a couple weeks ago. He spent $15,000 in about 2 weeks, right? 2 or 3 weeks. So this is the definition of whale, and he said, "I'm gonna go whale somewhere else." So someone else is gonna get his money now, I guess.
That's like saying I'm gonna go buy Disneyland tickets so I can boycott Disney. That's not how that works.
There you go. It has earned the game has earned $24 million so far since release. I don't know if that's a lot or a little. I mean, it just just seems like an amount, I guess, relatively.
I mean, how much of other games make?
Well,
How
I
much do
mean,
PUBG make?
well, I mean, when you think of like when Diablo 4 comes out, I would think they're going into the $500 million, right, or something. Like if it sells like a Call of Duty sells or something like that, right? At least 500 million. So 24 million in the last couple of weeks for a free to play. Maybe that is good. I don't know. Luis, you got any kind of insight into that?
I think it's probably performing better than they expected,
Okay.
especially with the large voice of the negative internet saying "fuck this game, we're not getting this game, we hate this game," and then fast forward 2 weeks and they make 24 million. So there's
Yeah.
people out there that will play this game. It's just they're not out there tweeting about it,
Yeah.
because they don't have to be. They're not angry at anybody. So, but
They're not angry at it.
Yeah, and they're
yeah, if
protesting.
anything, they're loving this game. Yeah.
They're out here protesting. So,
And I like that because they're not angry at anybody.
but yeah. So it's to me, yeah, it's an amount. So, but I do like that kind of perspective on it that you said. It's like maybe it's doing better than they are, and than they think they would, and also they're just gonna tweak it, right? This is a live game. That's just
Yeah.
what it's gonna be, and we're still talking about it. So there's obviously interest in it. The next thing that we have on here is the Quarry, which I need to play more of that, but the multiplayer has been delayed. I know Luis picked up a copy of the game, which congratulations. We're waiting on you, Dylan, but no worries. The game isn't multiplayer, but the game isn't multiplayer quite yet, so we're getting there. But apparently the multiplayer got delayed because the servers had to be moved out of the Ukraine. So part of the team at Supermassive actually works out of Ukraine, so that's kind of what was taking them so long because of the the ongoing war that's going over there between Ukraine and Russia. They had to kind of move those servers out of there, and in the move, they kind of had to retest the whole thing. So that's kind of what we're waiting on because I know we mentioned it a little bit, right? It was kind of weird because all their other games are online right from the start. Not that it's perfect. Not that we don't get randomly dropped from the game mid QTE or anything.
Not that we don't lose packets. We start losing graphics somewhere.
but it's been functional, right? And it's day one.
Yeah.
It works, right? So and
we made it all the way through the game.
Yeah, and I do miss that aspect, to be honest. So the Quarry, I don't know if I wait for you guys. Maybe I do. Or maybe, but we'll definitely play it together, whatever happens. But maybe that's what hasn't necessarily pushed me to keep going with it at the moment. But Dalan, what are your thoughts on this, man? That we got some firm details on why it was delayed.
Well, I do want to actually play the multiplayer, and I'll just bring up the fact that I might just wait until multiplayer is actually functional because I actually find these games to be more fun with multiplayer.
Yeah. And I mean,
yeah,
you do
just
have
the online multiplayer. Yeah, no, I was gonna specify that because local. I know local multiplayer is there, and it might be fun in some cases, but it's not the same as you playing with somebody else and things happening simultaneously.
True.
Because if you're playing locally, you gotta move, you gotta switch the controller over to the next person, and that's just not as fun.
Yeah.
Because while you're over there blowing up a submarine, I'm fighting pirates on the boat, and we're over here yelling about what's going on our screen. But if we're all doing local and we're all seeing what's happening, it's not as exciting.
And I think the last one is the one that's diverted the most so far, right? Because you were doing some Descent crap, or you were doing something that's like, wait, I want to do that. I'm doing something else. So it's definitely the replay.
You were out there shooting people, and I was walking around.
So,
I was out there trying to trench through some blood. I guess it was blood.
Hey,
I don't
man,
know what
let me
it was.
get through it. No spoilers.
Hey, Descent stuff, and you were. I don't know, running from somebody.
I'm not gonna spoil it for you because we'll replay it and you get to see it. But yeah, so super hyped. The game looks pretty nice. It's kind of like how we were talking about earlier, Dalan, the difference between remake and Crisis Core. Crisis Core is kind of like the Dark Pictures anthology, and the Quarry is Final Fantasy VII Remake. Like that's the disparity.
I will not lower Dark Pictures to that. Terribleness. I just feel
like the AAA Quad A. What's the 5 word for it? The Quad A plus of the Quarry. It's you see it right away.
Penta.
Pinta, is that what it is? Quinta. Luis, Luis, what were your thoughts on these details we got coming out of Supermassive?
I mean, it is interesting to hear what the reason actually was, because they weren't very descriptive, right? If anything, I remember they were apologizing, like, sorry, we know our players expect to play multiplayer day one, but we need 2 more weeks, like, and they were apologizing versus like, oh, you mean you're in a war? Like, yes, of course,
Oh, you
take
mean
your
you're in a
time.
war?
Yes, take
Yeah.
those servers
Please
out of there.
don't die. We need you alive.
Yeah, I mean, so you're saying like they could have they would have been okay saying that, I guess, as part of the announcement. Like, oh damn, that makes sense,
Yeah.
like, you know. So it's
Hey man, if they're out there fighting the good fight, I will let them have their day.
I think I don't know, you kind of respect that in a way though, right? Like they're not using, but it's funny though, because, well, not funny, right? But they're not like, we're gonna use the war.
It's amusing.
No, but not even that. I'm just saying, like, they're not using the war as an excuse. They're like, no, we're sorry that even though we're dealing with some shit, sorry that we couldn't get
That's
it.
what I meant. Yeah,
Yeah,
that they're
yeah.
apologizing when it's
Yeah.
like that. Of course, you would be struggling out there.
Yeah.
You know, I could just imagine them trying to come up with a plan to smuggle out their machines, putting them in
Whoa.
trucks and going underground. I'm sorry, it's just the image just popped into my head right now.
Nah, man. Look, we hope we hope for the best, and honestly, yes,
We do.
I'm assuming people were like, why, and these guys were like, all right, fine, we're at war. That's what's happening. We're dealing with.
He's
some
like,
shit
we're
over
at
here.
war and we're taking our servers across the border piece by piece.
Yeah.
We'll be in Poland soon. Soon
Well,
enough.
we hope everyone's safe over there, and we'll be playing the game soon enough, so we won't give them too much crap, I suppose. Sony is gearing up to announce several new hardware products. But there's not a console revision. They're actually thinking more of a PlayStation 5 Pro controller, and we should be getting that announcement by the end of June. So in the next week or so, we should be getting kind of some, like, I don't know, PlayStation 5 Pro controller, or paddle attachment, or something. Dalan,
It's a pro controller. That's my question. What would you do as a pro controller when you don't have a PS5 Pro? I mean, are they just gonna make it slim? What are they gonna do?
Well,
are they
I
gonna
mean,
try and have it
come on,
be
Dylan.
fully upgraded? I mean, they keep updating our controllers now.
Yeah.
It could become a pro on its own just by their updates, as long as they have the right
the only
programs put into it.
The only equivalent I can think of really is like the Elite controller on Xbox. How you have like the standard controller that comes with the Xbox Series X, and then you have the Elite version of it where it has like, I think you can take out the analogs. You have paddle controls, like, kind of integrated into the control. It's just a higher quality version of the controller. That's
So it
kind
has
of
more
it.
lights.
Yeah, maybe it's prettier. It's more, it's nicer.
Hey.
It's a nicer controller, right?
No,
But
I
they did
remember when the
integrate.
PS
They did integrate some of that Elite controller into the Series X controllers. Like that D-pad was first on the Elite controller, so they gave us a little bit of an upgrade.
No, I remember when the PS4 went to the PS4 Pro, and the controller was like, all right, this one is just going to have an extra light on the top and you can see through.
They updated
That's
the
it.
controller at some point. Luis, what do you think, man? Is there anything you're kind of looking forward to them announcing?
No, I'm just looking forward to the announcement. What's up with things being announced that they're gonna be announced, dude? I'm tired of this. Everything is like,
The announcement.
That's a fair quote.
The announcement of the announcement. So
Hey
like
man,
there was
tweet
one
back.
earlier.
What-
I
just
forgot. I
tweet
forgot
it.
what company it was, but it was like Square, or the developer that works on Assassin's Creed. They're like Ubisoft, right?
mhm.
They're like,
the
oh
25th
yeah,
anniversary.
we're
We're gonna
announcing
announce
an
something.
announcement that we're gonna, we're announcing that we're preparing to announce something in 2 weeks, and it's like, why don't you just wait? Like, why do you need to tell us this?
They gotta hype you up, man. They gotta get. It is a BS. No, it is a BS, but it's fair. It's a salient point.
Would you prefer
It's a
that they
salient
call it
point
an
you bring up.
update?
No, just don't say anything and just announce it when you announce it.
Yeah, direct. Well, even the directs. I think
Logging up my Twitter feed.
the Nintendo stuff, the Nintendo Direct, and the State of Play stuff used to be a little more surprising, I think. But now they do the pre-announcement to the announcement of the announcement. So
I hate it.
it's there, man. It's here to stay. It's here to
Hey
stay.
man, let us be surprised.
I'm gonna
This is
mute
why
the
I hate
word
spoilers.
announcement on Twitter so I don't see it
So I
anymore.
don't hear no announcements being made. Yeah, so we also got a couple other more details on Sonic Frontiers. They're kind of backtracking a little bit because we've been hearing some kind of nonsense happening over there. People really did not like that video that they showed. But they're now saying that it's actually, you should consider the game more of an open zone and not an open world. And this was interesting from Axio's Steven Totillo. He was talking to the director, Izuna, I believe, or I should have put the name down, but he was talking through an interpreter, and the interpreter says like, oh, it's sort of like a playground. I just don't want to use that word, but based on what Steven Totillo was saying is that those open areas are more kind of like a playground, and they're supposed to be like that. And we know this because Frontiers is supposed to also have linear levels, but Sega isn't showing them to the public yet. And my thing for that is maybe that's how we'll understand the game, because they obviously say we don't understand, we don't get it. Maybe that's what we need to see. Luis, what do you think, man, about this whole updates to the Sonic Frontiers world?
Yeah, maybe they were using open world in the same way that Kirby was using open world, right? Nintendo was like first open world Kirby.
Yeah.
But either the way, if you have these open zones or whatever, it still doesn't look that interesting. So we'll see. Maybe the linear will help me understand what the game is all about. But so far, I'm very trepidatious.
Yeah.
Let's say.
Yeah, because it's definitely, they're not helping us understand for sure, like at all.
No.
So we'll need to see these linear levels. Dalen, what do you think?
I think the people that are making this game are under the impression that Sonic is all about just running and jumping. Because even for the tech demo that they showed, it was basically jumping and revolving around a tower and running around, and actually no fighting whatsoever. Absolutely no story. I feel like there's going to be very little story for this game. There's going to be the initial story of getting sucked into a random world, and then after that, it's like a bunch of open worlds and small things to do all over the place. And I believe somebody on Twitter had attributed it to being like Bowser's Fury. Which Bowser's Fury was actually really fun and compact in its own way, but I don't think that Sonic can reach that level.
Of a DLC style type of
yeah, this is DLC. It's a big old DLC. That's what this is. Final Fantasy Sonic Frontier is a gigantic DLC to a wannabe Sonic color.
Yeah, hey, not to not to be talking crap about Bowser's Fury, but it was just a small game. It was Super Mario 64 Mini is kind of what it was, which
that's all you need when it comes to Mario.
True.
But Sonic,
yeah. So we'll see.
You can't do that.
Yeah. We'll see. And he can grind on there. He can grind. The next thing that might be coming back, so I'm kind of looking forward to this, but Lollipop Chainsaw might be making a return after 10 years, according to VGC Video Games Chronicle. Yoshimi Yasuda of Dragami Games, he tweeted earlier saying that Lollipop Chainsaw is... I thought I had a quote from him, but he said Lollipop Chainsaw is backed by Dragami Games. Please look forward to it, and that's it, Dalen. That's the quote. No, we don't know if it's a remaster, a remake, a sequel,
a remix.
We really don't know. So
do not make a sequel; it will not survive.
Okay. So what do you think it is? Or did you like the original? Did you play Lollipop Chainsaw?
The original was fun. It was actually a fairly difficult game for its time, actually. But the problem being is that it is a game about a cheerleader and a mini skirt, and it's highly sexualized. And you just cannot recreate that type of environment in today's video games the same way. Yeah. That what are they called? SJW, they're going to get involved. There's going to be a whole bunch of Me Too stuff happening. It's just, no, don't do it.
I don't know.
There's plenty of one-hand style games on the eShop for Nintendo Switch.
Look,
playing with one hand.
There's a bunch of Brian games on
what I remember from the game is that it was pretty clever with this premise, right? It was very clever. It played pretty well, and it was during a time when this was like was it Suda 51? He made like Shadows of the Dam, which I love that game. I love all the little paisa, all the Mexican little tidbits thrown into that game. It was nice. So Lollipop Chainsaw, I actually would like to see how they would make a sequel, because it could be pro-feminist, pro-female kind of. Like, there's a way that it could come back. I don't know if they could be successful at it, but I think there's a way where they could kind of bring it back and kind of and make a game that's kind of nice, and it's kind of like subverts what you expect out of it, I suppose.
Hey, I'm sure if they ended up doing it, it would remind me more of Blue Estate than anything. Probably not first person shooter or anything like that. But do you remember the game Blue Estate?
I
It was very much dark mafia humor, and it might as well have been a rated R game.
yeah.
So I don't know if they could pull it off a second time. I don't know if they
I
could
think
recreate that magic
I
that came
think
with
it would take.
Lollipop Chainsaw.
I think it would take a little like reimagining. I think it would have to take some like, threading a fine line. Threading a fine. I don't know if they can do it.
It'll thread a fine line and throw a dash of
Yeah.
tastefulness.
Yeah, I mean, this game came out in 2012, so 10 years ago, it was things were a little bit different. Even it wasn't that long ago.
Wait, was
but it's still-
Lollipop Chainsaw in 2012?
Yeah, 2012, yeah, 2011, 2012,
while
something
ago,
like that.
yeah.
It's been about 10 years. We even put it on here. I think Dalan is making a return after 10 years. It's in the title here. But the next thing on here is that we can talk a little bit more Starfield. The critical path is going to take 30, 40 hours. That makes it longer than Skyrim and Fallout 4. That's according to Todd Howard. There's yeah, so I'm 30, 40 hours is pretty long for a game, but I'm down. As these Western RPGs are right up my alley. So I'm down to hit the 30, 40 hours mark. What are you guys thinking? Is that just enough, Dalen, or what? Do you wish it was longer?
I think that's long enough. I think that's long enough because if I know that all the side quests are gonna significantly extend that, it's gonna turn into Dying Light 2 and go 600 hours.
And they're like, no. But you can finish it before that. Luis, critical path 30 to 40 hours. What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds pretty good to me. Same thing. I mean, their core audience in general, I think, likes to just keep exploring and kind of going their own way rather than continuing through the critical path linearly. So they're probably building it with that in mind for sure.
Yeah.
This
But
is probably one of those games where they want to make the side quests fun, right?
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of planets, man. A lot of places to explore. So
1,000 planets.
Yeah, by the way, we'll move to that one then. We'll switch that one around. But they did say 1,000 planets, and at first I sent you guys a text like, oh, I was irked. I was irked by this, but they said 1,000 planets via procedural generation, which is like, here we go, No Man's Sky again. But I was so pissed off that I didn't read the last part of the quote. It's like, yeah, but that has nothing to do with the critical path. So I kind of came back down to earth, and I was like, okay, procedural generation away. Then all right, I don't care if it's not part of a critical path. I guess you can have a whole bunch of made up planets out there.
Yeah, so the critical path is specific planets, but if you start side questing, it's all going to be procedurally generated.
Which that's fine at that point, right? If the game's fun enough, it's procedurally generated. I don't have to. I can still get my nice design games. I could blow up a whole town and get past 12 quests or not. You don't have that option. Yeah, Fallout 3, dude. You can blow up a whole town and just not have to do the whole quest in that town. But at least, what are you thinking here, man? That's kind of a good, kind of a good way to do it, right?
Yeah, I think that's definitely a good call. Because at first I did have, before they even announced this link that you sent us, I thought that it was procedural like across the board. But I think they made the right call with everything that has to do with the main story is like actually handpicked, place curated, and then everything else you can just sort of explore to your heart's content if you want to keep going. And it's all procedurally done.
Yeah, I'm down with that. I know the other one. I know people kind of made a big deal out of this. I can kind of see why it is, but they did say they made a point to clarify that you will not be able to fly straight down, from space into a planet. And the quote from Todd Howard was, quote, "No, we decided early in the project that the on surface is one reality, and then when you're in space, it's another reality." So, which is to say, I'm loading screen in between, like you're on the planet and then now you're in space. Is my assumption, right, Luis? Is that what you get from this?
Yeah, but I mean, with today's technology, who knows how long that loading screen will actually be, right? It might be just a few seconds, but
hey, it won't be like Destiny 2's loading screen.
Hey, man. Hey, they got some nice planes flying around while you're doing that, though. So it's all good.
That's true.
Yeah, I don't think they'll. I could see why they made that choice, though. A lot of people would love to, myself included, go from planet to space seamlessly and vice versa.
Yeah.
And they've actually done that in I think it was Call of Duty Infinite, right? You
Okay.
could like be on a ship on land, take off into space, and then come back down to land. It was like a very
Yeah.
specific level. I remember
Yeah.
hearing
Yeah.
that. But I
Something
mean,
like that.
that is one level, one controlled situation. This is thousands of planets you have to kind of consider. So
Yeah.
maybe that's why they did.
And it might even be
I think
generating it. It might be generating that planet while it loads. It's like, here you go. Here's a planet.
I do believe
and
the
I
other
mean, you
game
didn't
that
mention
came
it,
out like
Luis,
that.
but it's No Man's Sky, right? You go into space and then come back down. Sean Murphy, man, or Sean Murray. Why, man?
No,
Why? But go ahead, Dalen.
And I was just gonna say, for going from land to space, I don't know if you heard of the game. It's still, I guess, in beta alpha or whatever freaking delta stage. But have you heard of Star Citizen? I believe they actually do that, where they go from ground to space.
Yeah. Did they
I've
finally
heard of
finish
Star
that game?
Citizen.
Because they were kickstarted for years and years and years, and they haven't produced anything or something. So I
They
hope that's
have
been-
they never finished it for some of the systems that they quoted
Well,
it for. It's just
Well, we
It's
want
just
them
an
to
endless
finish
cycle,
Starfield.
man.
We want them to finish Starfield, Dylan. You
oh,
know,
we want them to finish Star Citizen too.
Yeah.
We want them to finish their games.
Starfield will
But,
be out
you know,
before
don't
Star
give us a
Citizen.
broken ass game. Don't give us a Cyberpunk 2077. That's all I'm saying.
All of a sudden. But yeah, I think it's definitely one of those things where it's probably cool the first couple times you do it. It's like, yes, I'm gonna go into the planet and out of the planet and all that stuff, kind of breaking through the atmosphere, right? But I feel like we'll just deal with it, right? And it's kind of like we are on SSDs. It should be a quick enough load. It's just a matter of like, now you've landed, right? There's no like launch and kickoff and going in and out of the atmosphere. But that's it for the quick takes and the news for this week. We're gonna move on to what you've been playing. Luis, I kind of saw you typed it in. I don't know what this little thing is here.
I know exactly what it
rat
is. It's a
emoji.
rat.
You could take a guess.
But
I know exactly what it is.
What you been playing, Luis? What you been playing? This
So as
past
I
week?
mentioned a few weeks ago, I went back when we were talking about Plague Tale 2. So I went back to go finish that one after Ghost of Tsushima so aggressively pulled me away from that game. But I don't know why it took me so long to get back to it. Just the longer I stay away from a game, the harder it is to jump in. Like, I don't know the controls anymore. I
Yeah.
forgot the story, blah, blah. But anyway, I took the deep dive and I'm fully gripped again. I'm fully within the grasp of a Plague Tale out here. So yeah, that one's been a nice little...
it's one thing where it's like I think that's why I lately in the last couple years I think I'm like, if I start a game I'm gonna try to beat it unless you know unless
Let
I
me
rage
focus
quit.
on this one
Unless I
game.
rage quit, right? I've been making it a thing where I'm like, I will beat it because it's true. You know, you step away, you try to come back a couple months, like you're starting that thing over. You're
Yeah.
starting that game over, right? But Plague Tale, you're hooked.
Yeah.
Getting
Yeah,
ready
so
for that sequel?
the story's starting to pick up a little bit more. There's new characters being added to the party. There's things happening. I'm enjoying the new sneaking and like slingshots mechanics they're giving me. So there's
some
still a few
extra
things I see
weapons.
that are crossed out. So I have some things still to unlock. But yeah, it's
What-
going
What are you playing on? What on PC? Is that what
Game Pass on PC. Yeah,
Okay, there you go. Game Pass.
for free.
There you go. You know,
It
with
dropped
asterisks.
for free on the PS Plus at
Yeah.
some point.
Yeah. Luis?
And then started It Takes Two with a friend. So we've been going through that. He bought a copy. I just got the
Nice.
trial version. It don't get me wrong, it took me a minute to fully submit myself to the wackiness of the game, but
It's a game about
after-
divorce, but that's fine.
I mean,
You know.
yeah, it was a little
Hey
silly to
man,
get used to at
that
first.
book is gyrating.
He's wilding out, dude.
At some point in the subtitles, it just says gyrating.
Wait, so a trial means you can at least do the co-op with him.
Yeah, like I don't need
Yeah,
a
you-
copy.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
someone
Yeah, you
needs a
just got the
copy.
friend pass. It's
Yeah.
it's the friend pass. Just like
is there a
what was the
reason?
name of that?
Is there a reason
Go
you
ahead.
would buy it? I guess because from what I remember, there's no real
Trophies.
reason. Trophies, right? It's kind of
I don't get any trophies.
He had the most serious face when he
Yeah.
said that. He was stonewalled. as
Well,
soon as
yeah,
he-
because I was playing the
trophies.
game, and then my buddy was like, "Oh, dude, sick! I just got a trophy. Hold on, let me help you do it." And then I'm like, "Why the fuck am I not getting a trophy? I'm taking a picture just like you did." And I was like, "Oh, wait, I have the trial. Maybe that's why."
Now,
Hey,
is that
Luis,
enough?
I'm down to go back through that game with you.
Is that enough to kind of get you to pick it up or no? What do you think?
Not at
Trophies?
this point. Not that we're already like kind of into it. I mean, we're not that far into it. We just got past some wacky little squirrels and a plane made out of heart underwear. But
Yeah.
we're working our way through it. So
It's
Hey man, I
clever,
did
right?
tell
Like,
you I'd play it with you. I told you I'd play with you. You just never decided. You were just stuck on GTA.
oh,
Luis.
I know, but it wasn't until my buddy was straight up like, "Here's the game, here's the invite, download the thing," and like it was like I was forced into it almost. I was like, "All right." So we started it.
Now, for us, Lisa, I know the mechanics was part of why it was our game of the year, a cumulative points. It got game of the year, but you're seeing already so far like how clever it is, right? The mechanics of it, that it kind of switches it up on you, or are you still kind of like
Yeah.
warming up to it?
No, I mean, I understood that that was a thing like way before I even picked up the controller. Like that was sort of the one of the selling points I kept hearing about on socials and stuff. Like, oh, every level is a different mechanic, and every character has a different mechanic, so you can play it multiple times. I
Yeah.
guess with that in mind. But yeah, there's definitely some cool things happening from level to level. We're doing this weird like zero gravity rope thing in space right now. I don't know if you guys know what I'm
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about,
yeah.
I do.
where you like grow in size or shrink in size or whatever. So yeah, it's interesting. I'm digging it so far.
Yeah, it's definitely a nice little game, and to come off of like, we did what was the last game down that he did? It was a jailbreak game or whatever. That's
A
also a
way
good
out.
one.
A
Uh,
way out.
yeah,
I
a
That's what
played
you're
way
a
out.
talking
way
about.
out
Yeah,
with
a
the
way
same
out.
friend. So
There you
yeah.
go. And he did say fuck the Oscars. If this wins an Oscar though, it
He did it on live TV.
because look, this thing is they're making it into a TV show or something like that, or a movie. So I think it would be pretty funny if he somehow gets like an Oscar. Like, what are you gonna say then, Ferris? What are you gonna say then? But I'm glad you're enjoying your time in It Takes Two. It's a great game, man. That is definitely one of those like seamless titles where, or it's low friction. It's a little challenging, but
Yeah.
mostly low friction, a little Ratchet and Clankish in that sense. Anything else, please, before we kind of get to what I've been playing here?
No, no, that's it.
Real quick, because we're gonna get to kind of what me and Dalen has been playing, but I still continue the trek down like Grand Theft Auto memory lane. I still want Dalen. Can you put the camera on me? Stop logging into GTA 5, please. But I've been kind of
Why?
playing
So
through these
people
games.
could go back to 3?
I get that's what I'm doing.
Oh
I'm playing
shit.
Grand Theft Auto 3. It's I did say this about Vice City, and it's also quaint. It's also quaint, but way quainter than Vice City. A lot of it is like they did add GPS, but it's broken half the time. Like it leads me to somewhere else. I'm like, that's not even where I'm trying to go right now. So the GPS is definitely broken versus Vice City, and I know it didn't have GPS in the original games, or at least in GTA 3, right? And the streets are crazy, man. And Grand Theft Auto 3 is like it's like New York City, I suppose, but right, like there's tunnels and there's all kinds of places where like, how do I get to this place? I don't know what level you're on. So I definitely, it's really cool to see that. I can see why Grand Theft Auto 3 would probably be no one's favorite of the modern Grand Theft Autos, right? Like of the modern 3D. But I like seeing how like a lot of it was already established, right? Like the
They
star.
put a lot of detail into it.
Yeah, the wanted system, the hidden packages, a lot of it was like when Vice City dropped, it was very much like it was a nice upgrade though. It was a nice upgrade. No longer like the streets were pretty like they were level. They were all level. There was no multiple levels and confusion in it. They stepped up their game as far as like the music, of course. It's just Vice City had an amazing soundtrack. But in GTA 3, that flashback radio station, it reminds me of Vice City. So I keep it on Flash FM or whatever it is on GTA 3.
Listen to the same 4 songs over and
yes.
over again.
Yes.
A quick question though.
Go ahead.
For that game, what city is it actually placed in?
It's supposed to be New York, like Manhattan.
I mean, what's the name of their version of it? What's the name of
Liberty
their
City now.
Liberty City. Yeah, Liberty City.
I
And
thought it was Chicago, but
No.
could be wrong.
It's New York City. It's based on that because it's Stanton and then like Brooklyn and then
okay.
it's definitely a very very low version of it, right? Like it's very simplified, right? Like they try obviously have Central Park on there, and it's like this is what they made, but
They got like 3 trees.
But you know what? It's 2001. I gotta consistently like remind myself, it's like this is 2001. In 2001, this thing was incredible, and even now, some of the missions are still kind of nice, but they're really simple, right? They're very, very simple missions. You get a little cutscene and like, go kill 10 things, come back. Whereas Vice City, you can start seeing they made it a little more complicated, right? There's a little more kind of
ambulance,
and the ambulance is just frustrating, but I did beat it. Oh man, those missions are terrible. The vigilante missions, I did that one too. It turns out, pro tip, and then we'll move on to what we're talking about next, Dalan. For GTA 3, as far as the vigilante one, get an FBI car. Get an FBI car and an Uzi, and that's how you do it. Because the FBI car, you can repaint it, and you get away with your wanted level, and it's a nice little car. So Grand Theft Auto 3, I beat the game. I'm just kind of getting the last couple things to get the platy going. I do like that though. I do like that the Grand Theft Auto 3 and Vice City have been very doable platinums. It takes a while, but they're very doable. I might go to GTA San Andreas and maybe GTA 4. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if that's how that's the rabbit hole that I found myself in. But the other
every GTA that exists,
and eventually I will get to GTA 5, I suppose. I didn't say online. Say GTA 5. But Dalan, we did play another nice little game, Shredder's Revenge, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's kind of nice, dude. And we were eventually able to get 6 players, right? 6 players online. Super accessible, man. I love the way that it does multiplayer. I don't think we've maxed out how many local players we can do, but I know on my end, I had my daughter was playing, you and 2 of your housemates were playing, right? So you had 3 people, right?
Me, Nicole, Jeremy, and then your brother.
And then my brother Jonathan was our 6th. So shout out to Jonathan if he's listening. It's great, man. You can't tell what the fuck's going on half the time.
It is total chaos.
It's
people get
chaos.
lost. People just fall into pits you didn't even know that existed. Planks were popping up off the ground and smacking people in the face. I don't know how. At one point, all 6 of us were just down on the ground with that countdown going. Mm-hmm. We were all dead. We had no idea.
Yeah, they added nice little bonuses, right? Like, because the original didn't have revives, right?
No, obviously. Heck no. None of them had
revives. This one you have revives, and it's like it'll count down 10, 9, 8, blah, blah, blah. Even if it gets to 0, as long as you're there with your L1 or, LB, whatever it's called on Xbox, just kind of giving them pizza. You're giving them whiffs of pizza to wake them up, So the animations are great. The fighting is nice. It moves at
your favorite thing was Donatello's Game Boy.
Yeah, the little, what are they called? The taunts.
The taunts.
Are pretty good. So... I look, I enjoy it when these kind of games come around. It's like the perfect little game, and it's on Game Pass, man. It's beautiful. It's on Game Pass. My child get to play together online with the buddies. You have 2 people at your house, and then a 6th person could join. So it's great, man.
This is one of those games that's just super fun. You could actually go back and play all the levels again and still have fun regardless. Because we ended up accidentally going back to one of the levels. We were like, we don't care. Let's just do it anyway.
Yeah, and the levels, I mean, I believe it's 16 levels total, and I think we got through 13, so I'm sure we'll beat it soon enough, right? But each level has like little challenges, right? Like, don't fall into a pit. Don't kill yourself this way or whatever the case is. So I'm sure there's plenty of replay value if that's what we want to do, which I'm sure we'll tinker with it, right? Whatever's fun little achievements or challenges that are there.
It has 7 endings.
Yeah, so we'll have to tinker with it. They did say, we didn't put it on the rundown, but the developers did say they it's a complete game. From what they're saying, it's like, no, we gave you guys a complete game. There's no DLC plan. But then they came back, I think about a day or 2 later, like, you know what? Let's not say no. Let's not never say never kind of thing. So they're
going to go the route of Cuphead. If it's successful enough, they might just make more.
Yeah, so as far as Shredder's Revenge, it's a complete game. If you guys buy it or get it on Game Pass, you're getting a complete game. But,
actually bought it for the Switch.
Yeah. Did you grab it? Okay.
I did. I picked it up.
There you go. So Shredder's Revenge. Anything else on that, Dan, before we kind of run down what else you've been playing?
Hey, Carlos, learn the names of these turtles. They are not just colors.
What did I call them? That's the thing.
He kept calling Master Splinter Shredder. I was like, no, Carlos.
I don't know his name. And any of the turtles, I just call them the orange one, the blue one, the purple one. And they was like, they're called this. I'm like, no, man, it's the purple one. It's the purple one. But we'll finish. Hey, Luis, you'll join us at some point I'm assuming a little shredded ribs.
Maybe. I mean, yeah, Game Pass, so
Okay.
maybe we'll see.
There you go. See the beauty of Game Pass. Where's our sponsorship, Game Pass? We're still waiting on GameFly. We're still waiting on Game Pass. But whatevs. Maybe we can kind of pit them against each other. Maybe PlayStation. Where's our PlayStation Extra sponsorship? We'll pit them against each other, right? Dalan, what else you been playing, man?
I actually tried to dive fully back into Elden Ring, and I was essentially playing it by myself. I haven't actually asked for any help. I actually beat the boss that I was stuck on, and I was happy to actually do that. It feels like an achievement when you start beating things. But then I got to this point where early on in the game, I reached this castle, and people were telling me, "Oh, you didn't even have to go in there." I'm like, "Wait, what are you talking about?" Yeah, just run around the castle. I tried to run around the way that they told me. And Jet, I'm going to call you out on this one because you told me to do this. I teleported out of the castle, ran all the way around to the place that he told me, and it was nothing but cliff. Couldn't get around the castle whatsoever. I was going the right way. I was fine.
Hey, dude, and I gotta tell you, sometimes when you're going around, it's nice that that game lets you kind of go around places, but sometimes going around is actually more treacherous. Is the like that lady, the more treacherous roads, unnecessary journeys. You're taking those unnecessary journeys, you're gonna find some treacherous roads, Dalan. All right.
Why didn't you just run through the main gate? Because he said it was dangerous. Yeah, but you could just sprint through it. Yeah, but then I'm getting shot by 20 ballistas when I could just go through like one enemy at a time and be okay.
True. We gotta try the co-op one of these days, then.
I need to try the co-op very soon. I might not get through this game if I don't play co-op with somebody.
Okay, you're like, you know what? I'm gonna be done with What do you call it? Elding.
Eldring.
But
not
only that, but he said he knew what he said. He knew what he said. Right.
I got to a little open area where there were like 50 enemies and arrows were flying all over the place and people were sneaking up on me. I was like, nah. I can't do this. It's very frustrating.
We'll give it a shot, Dalan. We'll try to figure out that co-op situation. What else you've been?
All right, so I also went back to playing Trek to Yomi because I was waiting for that game. I still wanted to beat it, and as soon as I went back, I was like, "What?" This game immediately rolled into Onimusha territory. I was like, there are demons and zombies and stuff like that are happening. I was like, oh man, they went into real Japanese folklore as you go on. I did not expect this. So I'm actually more intrigued by the game now. So I gotta beat this game.
Did you see, now that you mentioned Japanese folklore, Dan, did you see that remember we were playing that game, another Metroid 2 remake or whatever that had the 360 degree gameplay?
Oh yeah,
they're working on a game with Japanese folklore in it or whatever. It looks kind of nice, so look that up. I think it's called Bow Spirit Adventure or something. I don't know, but it's the developers. They're working on a game of their own. Just to throw that your way.
All right, you'll have to show me that later. Everyone's like, I don't know what the heck you're talking about.
I interrupted you, Dylan. My bad, but go ahead.
Hey, I know that there's a spiritual successor, or at least an alternative to Kenna Bridge of Spirits, and I'm waiting for that game. I can't remember what that's called.
I mean, if it plays like Kenna, I mean, I just hope that they kind of reconsider.
Oh, snaps. But the last thing is I actually did pick up PS Extra. I actually paid for it. Okay. Now, I know we had this argument over text over the week, Carlos, but be wary that if you have stacked up your months or stacked up years of PlayStation Plus and you want to upgrade it, they will force you to upgrade every day that you have remaining, and they'll prorate you on those days. So originally it was going to be $79 for like 668 days or something like that. Then I went back at 661 days and it was $72. I was like, oh, okay. They're literally prorating me for the remaining days that I have left.
That's crazy, dude. That's wild.
They give you no other choice. That's it. You either do all the days or none of the days.
That's wild.
So everybody who's got those stacks, just be prepared that you're going to have to deal with that. But I went ahead and did extra because I had no reason to do premium. Don't mind you that there's a lot of old school games that were on that list that were actually really fun back in the day, but I had already played those and beaten most of those. I'm like, I don't care about those games. I'm good. And all the games that are on premium, I kind of already own. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to get extra because this is where all the games are that I actually want to try.
But without the trophies, though. but without the trophies.
No,
the premium
I get the trophies.
No, the premium games, some of the PlayStation games have trophies, right? Which is, I still got to dig deeper into that to be like, is it? I mean, if they're gonna be charging me $80 or whatever.
Look at the PS. No, man, it's not gonna be 80. It's gonna be $120 or something like that, depending on how much time.
I don't have it stacked that far out, but yeah, that's nasty, man.
That's they're doing it whether you like it or not. But
gross.
I wanted to bring this up specifically because yes, I got extra, so I'm gonna be able to get those other games, and I did pick up Returnal, and I started playing that before we did this podcast, and that game is smooth. I will say that, Luis. I appreciate the game's smoothness. It does feel a little empty to begin with because you're running around and there's like no enemies to begin with, and you're just like sprint through it. And at this point, I'm like, I am not going to take my time and appreciate these level designs. I'm just going to try and get as far as I can without dying really fast.
Oh, you'll have plenty of time to explore those levels. You don't even trip.
Oh, you'll see what's up. Oh, you'll see what's up. Oh, you'll find out. Dalan, thank you for that PlayStation Plus Premium / Extra plus Essential, whatever nonsense, prorated nonsense is going on over there. But that's been another episode of Salient Points. This one's number 73 for June 21st, 2022. Thank you guys for joining us. Make sure to like, subscribe, all that fun stuff on YouTube. We've been getting some nice little views, man. We were hovering around the low teens. We're kind of like in the 20s or so. So I think we're making a little bit of progress. Make sure to comment. If you comment, we'll shout you out, more than likely, especially if you're throwing some smoke Dalan's way. I'll make sure it'll make the show. I'm Carlos Macias, the master of ceremonies here. Dalan Kirkwood from up in the mountains. Thank you I hope you're enjoying that piece of paper you're eating over there, Dalan.
It's a straw. I was chewing on my straw earlier. No, what I'm not enjoying is hearing these birds behind me.
Dude,
I mean, don't get me wrong. I love birds, but I don't need birds in my
Dalan, you gotta handle that, dude. You are you know how you're like, oh, who do I call for this? No, you call yourself.
No, I own the house. Yes, so, I got you.
That's an issue, man. That's a concern. Luis Mendez on the wheels of steel. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us.
Yep.
See you guys next week. Dalan said, I'm gonna figure this out. I hope you do, man. I hope you do.